Sonic model discussion has gotten out of hand, and today I want to briefly talk about it. So the current Sonic model that has been appearing in almost everything since Sonic Forces has been a big discussion in the Sonic community, especially since Frontiers came out. There are plenty of people who say that this model looks great and there doesn't need to be any changes, and there are plenty of people who say that this model is terrible and he looks ugly and it's awful to look at. Now I'm not going to say that either of those opinions are wrong, I'm not here to say that, but I'm here to say that the discussion around this model has been entirely ridiculous. What's happened is that there are people who started to criticize the model, just genuine criticism. And then it kind of spirals out of control to where those genuine criticisms are just kind of repeated over and over again to the point where people actually start to just use them to complain. It's no longer actual criticism of a 3D model in a game, it's just hatred towards this model in a way I've never seen before. Like, it's not criticism at that point. It is just complaining. It has gotten to that point in some cases. And so, as a response to that, people get really defensive of this model because they don't want to deal with just a bunch of people complaining, which isn't a ridiculous reaction. But the issue is that it's led to two very hard extremes. It's made what should be just an interesting discussion about Sonic models and maybe should Sonic have a new art style? Does this art style look good? Does the models look good? Like, we can talk about character design. What should be, like I said, an interesting discussion has now become a two-sided extreme issue to where it's either you love this model, there is no issue with it, and if you disagree, you're just a complainer you're a miserable Twitter blood. Then if you go to the other side, then hey, I'm some Kino artist who loves saucy Sonic from the 2000s and I know everything better than Sega. And that's it. Those are the two sides. There is zero in between. If you think the models are decent but could be improved, then looks like you're miserable. And if you think that the models are pretty decent and you don't really have much to say about them, then looks like you're a Sega bootlicker. There's just no in between to this, and that's the problem. And I think that a lot of this discussion has just been tainted by these extremes because a lot of the criticisms of this model I think are very genuine, and I think that they make a lot of sense. And I think that there are some good threads that you can find on Twitter of people explaining these things, and after listening to it and actually hearing it out and filtering out the noise of annoying discussion from people who are saying the model needs to be changed and from people who say that the model doesn't need to be changed, I want to offer a perspective that's a little more reasonable. If you're like me who's just sick of the discussion, I want to offer a middle point that's pretty reasonable. Because the thing is, I don't want an art style change. I like how Sonic games look right now. Frontiers is such a great looking game in my opinion. Now, obviously it has a lot of graphical issues, but we're talking art style here. It looks really nice. I love what it was going for, and I think it does it pretty well. But saying that doesn't mean I don't think it couldn't be improved. I want to make that very clear, because that's what I want to bring to the table. Some improvements they could make. Because looking at Sonic here, the criticism of the muzzle curve, the way the ears are shaped, the short quills, the middle quill, those are all valid criticisms. But the thing is, I feel like when people post, oh, look at this fan model, or oh, look at this, mod, or this edit I made, they feel cartoonishly extreme. It feels like this looks way worse because it's clearly a fan edit. It's not just slight tweaks to make it better, which is what I think they should do. I don't want them to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. I just think that the face has a lot of issues with how it flows together. And so, we've been seeing this image from the Pac-Man trailer just getting blasted everywhere. This Sonic image has been on blast on Twitter. It's like actually ridiculous. I would have never thought about the model in this, but nope, it became a model discussion. This is why there are two sides, because when you see this trailer, I'm sorry, I think it's a bit unreasonable to watch this and be like, oh hey, that's right guys, I should go post about how bad Sonic looks in this. Because he looks basically the same as he does in Crossworlds. It's not like it's different. That's the issue. Sonic looks the same in a pretty unremarkable trailer, and that's the time to bring up model discussion. And so saying all of that, this image of Sonic, I have made an edit of it that I think makes a lot of improvements while not reinventing the wheel, changing the art style, or it looking like fan art. I just want to tweak it a little bit. I just want to take what's already there, which I think is pretty decent, and just make it better. So I'm not going to just yap on any longer. This is my edit. And the thing is, it's very subtle. I'll have to switch between the two a little bit to kind of show what I'm talking about. Because, first of all, I did introduce a more proper muzzle muzzle curve to where it doesn't look like his muzzle kind of ends off bluntly where the eye connects. It just looks a little smoother. Then, I made the brows poke out a little more. Nothing crazy, it's not cartoonish. It just makes his brow not feel kind of stuck on his face. It feels like it kind of pops out a little more as it should. I fixed his ear shape a little bit, not by making him super long and pointy, but no, just making sure that that inside curve doesn't dip down for some reason to make his head look more circular as it should. I also removed the butt brow, but I didn't do anything too crazy to like erase anything else. I simply just removed the hard line that's been etched into it in the model, just so that it doesn't feel like he's scrunching his brow, because that doesn't make any sense if he's hitting a smile. Like, obviously, if he looked angry or serious, then sure, that the brow scrunch would look right, but it doesn't look right here. So I just kind of erased it out. Then I did a little editing to just add a top quill, just so his head would feel a little more balanced, because it looks like you almost take a chunk out of his head when you look at it without that quill there. So I think that just helped it flow a bit nicer. I also brightened up his skin a little so it doesn't look quite as yellow, like Lego brick colored. I made it a little more peachy and just kind of brightened it up so that it matched the rest of the image better. And that's about it. Like I'm saying, it's nothing crazy, but this is the type of thing I think they should change this model to, because I think a lot of the criticisms of these models are very genuine. I think they make a lot of sense, and I think, I agree with them. But I think Twitter discussion and just the way people present these criticisms has made the criticism seem stupid. I mean, it really is true when someone says something you agree with, but they say it in the most annoying and pretentious way possible. You just don't even want to agree with them anymore. And that's how I feel about this model discussion, because I think it could be a lot better. And heck, I wouldn't even mind more substantial changes than this, but obviously, like I said, when I look at this model, I don't think, oh, look at how ugly he looks. It's just Sonic, but it could look better. That's really about it. Now, obviously, I can't stop people from posting what they want, but if I have any sort of influence at all, I would just say, let's not be like, there's absolutely no issues with this model, it's totally perfect. But I also wouldn't be like, hey, this model is the worst thing I've ever seen, and I need to bring it up at every moment I can. I think those are two harmful perspectives that don't do any good. These are just useless ways of argument. They don't further discussion. I'm sure they don't make Sega want to change the model anymore. It's just, it doesn't make things better at all. And so yeah, that's really about it for this video. I wanted to offer a little bit more of a middle ground perspective on all of this, because I think the two extremes make everyone look bad. I think there is absolutely real criticism of the model that I think we can take into account, but I also think that there's no reason to bring it up on every opportunity we physically can. So, I guess that's about all I got to say. I hope all of you have an amazing rest of your day, and God bless.